How's it going, my confident bakers? I really hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to another video. Today I'll show you to make a unique sandwich bread which comes out the oven pre-sliced. So let's get in the kitchen and see how it's done. I was looking through my old videos to find something worthy of a remake, and then I came across the pizza Mortazza video which I published a couple of years ago. It is an Italian bread made by baking pizza dough stacked in 2 layers with olive oil in between. After baking, the 2 layers can be separated easily, and then it can be made into a massive sandwich. It is unique, it's delicious, and it's easy to make. Well, at least this updated version is. So here's what we'll need. Some white bread flour, yeast, salt, olive oil, water, and semolina. The semolina will be used in shaping, and it will give the crust a unique crunchy texture. I'm going to bake this bread in my Lloyd's Pans pizza pan. It measures 8.5 inches by 6.5 inches. Which is around 21 centimeters by 16 centimeters. But you don't need a tray like this, you can just make it on a flat tray. And we'll of course need the standard bowl, scales, dough scraper and temperature probe. Okay, let's begin. It all starts with temperature control. My kitchen is around 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm just using room temperature water here. Pour the water in a large bowl, add the yeast, the salt, give them a quick mix to dissolve, then add the olive oil, bread flour, and mix it to a dough. This is a high hydration dough and it contains a considerable amount of olive oil, so it will be quite stretchy and sticky, but we don't need to worry about that too much because we are not kneading this dough. The original recipe which I posted was made with a pre-ferment, an autolyse step, and a 15-minute slap and fold session. I don't use any of those methods anymore, and those were the big reasons for updating this recipe. It is so much easier to make now, and the result is just the same if not better. Okay, once the dough has been fully mixed, stick a probe in it and give it a quick temperature check. Around 23 to 24 degrees Celsius is just about right. Let's cover it up and pop it in the fridge to chill down for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes of chilling, we can remove the dough from the fridge and give it a first fold. Wet your hands with water, release the dough from the bowl, and then fold it over itself whilst going around in a circle. It'll be very loose and soggy at this point, so try to work quickly and with a light touch. Grab the dough by the side, pull it up and throw it over. If you feel that it's sticking too much, dip your hand in water once again and continue. Finally, you can turn the dough over and pick it up, let it hang down and fold it over itself. Kind of like a one-handed coil fold. It will still be loose and soggy. And after performing the first fold, we need to chill it for 30 more minutes and then give it one more fold. Now the dough should be cohesive enough so we can perform the coil fold right from the get-go. So wet your hands with water again, release the dough from the bowl, grab the dough by its sides, lift it up, let it hang down and then roll it underneath itself. Give it a couple of folds, then turn the dough and repeat this step on all sides. Then wet your hands one more time, pick the dough up, let it hang down, then fold the sides back up into it. A couple of folds later, it is ready for a long cold fermentation. Leave it in the fridge for 18 to 24 hours. On the next day, it should be nice and bubbly and wobbly, full of delicious fermentation gases. The new version of this recipe is a lot less messy than the previous one as well, and it doesn't use nearly as much oil. It's been streamlined and made much more elegant. So here's what we're gonna do. Grab a large baking tray and sprinkle it with semolina. Then wet your hand with water, release the dough from the bowl and pinch it in half. This bread is made up of 2 layers, so we need 2 pieces of dough. Of course, it would be possible to keep the dough whole, then stretch it out nice and big and fold it over to create the 2 layers. But I wanted the layers to be completely separable instead of being attached at one end, so I preferred this method. Once you have pinched the dough in half, pick each piece of dough up and shape it into a round ball. And you still want to have your hands nice and wet so it doesn't stick. The shaping step is exactly the same as the final folding step which we performed earlier. Leave plenty of space between the dough balls so they don't stick together as they prove. And sprinkle them with plenty of semolina so that the cling film doesn't stick to them. Now we can cover them up, leave them for the final proof, which will only take about 1 hour. You want the dough balls to become nice and puffy. If they haven't done so in 1 hour, just leave them to ferment for longer. Switch on the oven towards the very end of the final proof, to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 Fahrenheit, fan on. And that'll be 220 Celsius or 430 Fahrenheit, fan off. Once the dough is nicely proofed, we can move on to final shaping. It really is like a pizza, because the final shaping is performed just before baking and after final proofing. Grab your tray, pour some olive oil into it, spread it out. This will give the bread a beautifully half-baked, half-fried crust and it will prevent it from sticking to the tray. If you want to reduce the amount of oil in this recipe, you can just line your tray with baking paper. The bread will still turn out really nice. Because my dough balls didn't turn out quite the same size, and because the edges of my tray are slightly angled outwards, I will use the smaller piece of dough for the bottom layer. Before you handle the dough, Sprinkle plenty more semolina on it and release it from the tray using your dough scraper. And then gently stretch the dough out to size. Use your fingertips and try not to deflate it too much. When transferring the dough from one tray to the next, you want to lift it up and move it over in one smooth move, and try to do it quickly. Once you have placed it in a tray, stretch it out to make it fit the shape. Then pour some olive oil over the dough. This will keep the layers separate. And if you do want to reduce the amount of oil in the recipe, you can try and brush the oil on instead of pouring it on. But you do need some oil between the layers so they come undone easily. Okay, the second layer is made much like the first one. Use plenty of semolina, release it from the tray, stretch it out gently, then pick it up and place it in the tray to cover the first layer. And now you get one more chance to stretch the layers out and make them conform to the shape. And I guess you already know what comes next, more olive oil. This time if you want to lower the fat content, just don't use any oil. Okay, this bad boy is ready for the oven, so let's get it in there. At this temperature, it will take around 25 minutes to fully bake. It may take longer in your oven, it may take less time. Judge it by the color of the crust. But if you are not sure, you can lift the bread up with a spatula to see if the bottom has been fully baked. My one looks just about done, so let's pull it out of the oven and leave it on the rack to cool down before making a massive sandwich. It looks quite humble right now, because it's all about what's on the inside. This is the bread's party trick. It is one of the most unique breads out there. There are not many breads which come out the oven pre-sliced. So let's open it up and see how it looks on the inside. And wow, this is certainly a unique sight. It's so puffy and bubbly and soft. Kind of reminds me of a sponge. Let's fill this thing up with some delicious fillings. I went with a few slices of Emmental cheese, some delicious beef tomatoes, a little bit of salt and pepper for seasoning, a little sprinkle of oregano would be nice too, but I didn't have any. But last but not least, we'll stack it full of mortadella. That is where the name comes from, pizza and mortazza, which translates to mortadella bread. And of course at the end of the day, it's your sandwich, you can fill it with whatever you want. The possibilities are endless and it will all be delicious, because this bread carries filling so well. It makes such a neat package. You got this beautifully golden brown bread with a slightly crunchy crust from the semolina. It is soft and rich with olive oil flavor. The crumb of this bread is super soft and tender. The fact that it can be assembled by opening it up, filling it and putting it back together, that is just a cool little party trick. I am very happy with how this turned out, and I definitely ate too much of it. This whole thing should feed 4 people, but I had more than half of it just by myself. Don't forget that I have a whole playlist dedicated to various flatbreads. Head over there for more delicious recipes. And don't forget to check out the Principles of Baking playlist to learn all about baking. And if you do decide to make this bread, let me know down in the comments how it turned out. So what do you think of this unique sandwich bread? Have you tried making my old version? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.